DemocracyNow.org, The War and Peace Report. Millions of Iranians have attended funeral services for Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei and 4 members of his family assassinated by the U.S. in February. Joining the funeral were 3 of Khamenei's sons who had not been seen since the U.S. and Israel launched the war. A 4th son, Ayatollah Mojtaba Khamenei, has been named new supreme leader and remained out of public view. Ahead of the funeral, President Trump told Axios negotiations with Iran will remain paused until at least July 9th, and that, quote, neither side will shoot at the other. Israeli forces have bombed parts of Lebanon in a fresh violation of the U.S. brokered agreement to end the attacks that Israel signed in June. Israel's most recent strikes targeted Nabatea in southern Lebanon, killing at least 4 people. There are also reports of Israeli drones flying over the coastal city of Tyre. On Sunday, the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu claimed without evidence that some Christian villages in southern Lebanon have asked to be annexed by Israel. In Yemen, dozens of people are dead following an outbreak of fighting between Yemen's internationally recognized government and Houthi rebels in Hodeidah, a province near the strategic Bab el-Mandab Strait on the Red Sea. The violence began Friday when Houthi fighters used snipers, drones, and artillery to attack government positions. A Yemeni minister says more than 50 Houthis were killed in a counterattack. On Sunday, the British military said a cargo ship came under fire off the coast of Yemen in the Red Sea. No group claimed responsibility, but the Houthis are active in the area and had previously threatened to renew attacks on ships. Israel's military continues to attack the Gaza Strip in further violations of the U.S.-brokered October ceasefire. Earlier today, 2 people were killed and 15 injured when Israel struck a tent housing displaced Palestinians in al-Mawasi, an area Israel previously declared a humanitarian safe zone. Another attack on Khan Yunis struck a vehicle, killing 2 Palestinians. Meanwhile, Israel's security cabinets approved the construction of 13 new settlements in the occupied West Bank. The International Center of Justice for Palestinians condemned the announcement, writing, quote, this is a deliberate strategy to reshape the geography and demographics of the occupied Palestinian territories, entrenching annexation and deepening Israel's unlawful occupation in clear violation of international law, they said. The family of the prominent Palestinian doctor, Hassam Abu Safia, says his health has sharply deteriorated after more than 555 days in Israeli prisons. Dr. Abu Safia had served as a pediatrician and director of the Kamel Adwan Hospital in northern Gaza until he was abducted by Israel in December of 2024. He's been held without charge ever since. In a video message, Dr. Abu Safia's son, Elias, says his father shows clear signs of torture and medical neglect during a recent meeting with his lawyer in which Dr. Abu Safia described being beaten with a hammer.
My father was unable to breathe. My father was unable to speak. His face was disfigured from the marks of torture and pain, especially after the last court session held in Jerusalem at the Supreme Court. We still call out, plead and appeal and beg to all the free people of the world and to everyone with an atom of humanity in their heart to save my father's life before it's too late.
Palestinian officials say Israeli attacks have killed about 1,700 healthcare workers in Gaza since October 2023. At least 83 medical workers remain in Israeli prisons. In Greece, residents of Thessaloniki have been ordered to remain indoors with their windows shut after a fast-moving wildfire engulfed a recycling plant, sending toxic smoke over the city. This comes as hundreds of firefighters battle wildfires in Portugal and Greece following a record-shattering European heat wave that's already been blamed for thousands of heat-related deaths. Here in the U.S., at least 25 people are dead due to extreme heat and humidity after a massive heat dome brought record temperatures to the central and eastern U.S. over the 4th of July holiday. Some 185 million people, and more than half of U.S. residents, were under heat alerts over the weekend, with extreme weather forcing the cancellation of Independence Day events in states from Alabama to Connecticut. We'll have more on the extreme heat wave with David Wallace-Wells. Meanwhile, Super Typhoon Bavi has brought devastating 175-mile-per-hour winds and storm surge to the Pacific Ocean, U.S. territories of Guam and the Northern Mariana Islands. The headline of David Wallace-Wells' piece in the New York Times Magazine that we'll talk about is "We need to retrofit the planet. The heat wave proves it." In Washington, D.C., officials ordered thousands of people to evacuate the National Mall Saturday night as severe thunderstorms approached, delaying President Trump's speech and fireworks display, marking the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. Thousands stood in security lines for hours in triple-digit heat as the district tied its all-time record high for Independence Day. Dozens were treated for heat-related illnesses. Trump eventually spoke at 11:15 p.m., delivering a 40-minute speech in which he promised a new golden age of America, while casting his political opponents as communists who pose an existential threat.
Our warriors did not fight communism on battlefields across the world, only to have that menace rear its ugly head right back here in America. We're not going to let it happen. We like to stop a threat like that immediately and before it begins. It's like a cancer. You got to cut it out. You got to cut it out fast.
Trump spoke after dozens of people wearing masks, mirrored sunglasses, and symbols of the white supremacist group Patriot Front rallied in Washington, D.C. on the 4th of July, riding public transit and marching near landmarks. The group has portrayed itself as the, quote, protectors of white America.
I found out
unquote.
My dad went
This
to
comes
D.C.
after the
just
Trump
for this,
administration's
and I wonder
Freedom
if he was one of the
250
Patriot
celebration
Front
narrowly
guys.
avoided disaster
Wouldn't that be
last week when a
crazy?
piece of debris fell from the stage, nearly crushing a group of about 24 dancers. Meanwhile, federal prosecutors have indicted the former U.S. Olympian David Hearn on a felony charge for allegedly damaging the Lincoln Memorial reflecting pool, which has been plagued by peeling paint and rapid algae growth following the Trump administration's multi-million-dollar renovation in a no-bid contract. Hearn was arrested last month after he was spotted reaching into the water. He said he was curious about the state of the reflecting pool, had merely touched coating that had already floated to the surface. Later in the broadcast, we'll speak with his lawyer, the former Obama ethics advisor, Norm Eisen. The confirmed death toll from Venezuela's devastating twin earthquakes rose to more than 3,300 Sunday, with thousands remaining missing as officials began to bury the bodies of dozens of unidentified victims. Thousands have been left homeless, primarily in the region of La Guaira. Meanwhile, the U.S.-backed government of interim Venezuelan President Delcy Rodriguez is defending its actions in the aftermath of the quakes as survivors and residents decry what they've described as a delayed and inadequate response to the disaster. In Ukraine, at least 11 people were killed after Russia launched a series of overnight aerial strikes on Kyiv just a day before a NATO summit in Ankara, Turkey. The attacks came after President Trump reportedly offered to help Russian President Vladimir Putin to end the Ukraine war in a phone call between the two leaders that reportedly lasted nearly 90 minutes. Meanwhile, Russia faces a growing fuel crisis after Ukraine targeted more than 50 oil refineries and other energy sites across Russian territory and occupied Crimea since March. Over the weekend, a wave of Ukrainian long-range drones struck a key oil terminal and naval base in St. Petersburg. President Trump is flying to Turkey today for the NATO summit in Ankara, where he's scheduled to meet with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Heads of state from over 30 countries are also scheduled to attend. Ahead of Trump's visit, Turkish police detained more than 100 protesters as they marched to demand Turkey's withdrawal from NATO. Among those arrested in Ankara were several journalists, human rights activists, and academics. Police also cracked down on protests in Istanbul.
NATO's crimes around the world are apparent. They have also committed numerous offenses in Turkey, orchestrated coups, and have bases here. And now, shamelessly, they are being hosted in Ankara. I am here today to protest because I cannot accept this blow to my honor. NATO is a very big criminal organization.
Pope Leo has urged the United States and European nations to ease up on their inhumane treatment of migrants and refugees. The pontiff made the appeal Saturday from the Italian
Commie Pope.
Of Lampedusa, where he also visited a cemetery, praying over the graves of migrants who've died while making the treacherous journey from Africa to Europe across the Mediterranean.
Those who have lost their lives in this sea are victims both of decisions that were made and of decisions that were not made. Indifference to the common good and corruption in their countries of origin. A global economic system that generates poverty and exclusion, fear that fuels prejudice and contempt, the belief that such problems do not concern us, the criminal calculations of those who profit from the suffering of others.
President Trump has issued pardons to 11 more people, including 9 who face criminal charges for violating the Clean Air Act by tampering with emissions monitoring systems on cars. Trump also pardoned Adam Kadhan, a former business partner of the disgraced lobbyist Jack Abramoff. Kadhan pleaded guilty in 2005 to fraud and conspiracy related to the purchase of a fleet of gambling boats. His pardon came just months after he co-hosted a fundraiser at Trump's Mar-a-Lago resort for a Long Island Republican congressional candidate. Fresh controversy has embroiled the FIFA World Cup after President Trump called on the FIFA president, Gianni Infantino, to lift a red card suspension on the U.S. men's national team top goal scorer, Folarin Balogun. Trump reportedly had a private call with the FIFA chief last week to ask for a review of Balogun's suspension, which was lifted on Sunday ahead of the U.S. team's match against Belgium today. The reversal is highly unusual. It's the first time since 1962 that FIFA's allowed a player to appear in a game after being suspended. He was red-carded. Trump took to Truth Social, thanking FIFA, quote, for doing what was right and reversing a great injustice, unquote. And China's begun enforcing a new so-called ethnic unity law that human rights groups warn could accelerate the forced assimilation of ethnic minorities.
That's literally what the law is
said
for.
The law could also apply to individuals outside Chinese borders. Amnesty International said in a statement, quote, rather than celebrating difference, it's about pushing ethnic groups such as Uyghurs, Tibetans, and Mongolians to adopt a single state-defined national identity dominated by Han Chinese culture law. This law risks providing a stronger legal basis for existing practices of transnational repression. Peaceful advocacy for minority rights in China by anyone, anywhere, could be characterized as undermining ethnic unity, unquote, Amnesty International said. Here in New York, a Tibetan activist lit himself on fire outside the United Nations headquarters last week, protesting China's annexation of Tibet. In a live stream video posted before his self-immolation, Logba Rangzin decried Beijing's policies for, quote, destroying the Tibetan people.
It's not that we do not have independence. We had it, but the independence is lost. We have to get it back. Therefore, we Tibetans in exile must unite and struggle for the independence of Tibet.
Logba Rangzin died in the protest. He was a 52-year-old resident of Queens, New York, originally from eastern Tibet and an advocate for Tibetan independence for over a decade. And those are some of the headlines. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org.
Good evening, allies. Welcome to the News Hour. President Trump has often been a proud disruptor on the world stage, and today was no different. He acknowledged today that he intervened directly with the president of FIFA, which led to the overturning of a penalty that would have banned a star American striker from tonight's World Cup match. In response, some European soccer leaders are questioning the integrity of the entire tournament. And tonight, President Trump is departing for a pivotal summit with NATO allies.
The most
after
corrupt
a year in which he's
sports league.
questioned European countries' sovereignty and doubted the very utility of the alliance. We'll get to the soccer controversy in just a moment, but first, Nick Schifrin joins me from Ankara, Turkey, where the NATO summit will take place. So, Nick, what are administration officials saying ahead of this pivotal summit?
Amna, as one senior official put it to me, it is, quote, show me the money time. It was 1 year ago at the Hague summit that all NATO leaders pledged to spend 5% of their GDP on defense, and President Trump declared the U.S.'s military presence in Europe was, quote, not a ripoff. That was a good day for NATO, but since then, it has been a bad year. The president's national security strategies criticize European, quote, civilizational erasure. The president threatened to seize Greenland, which, of course, is an autonomous part of Denmark. Even this weekend, Amna, as a senior administration official was briefing reporters, the official said that the U.S.'s acquiring Greenland would still be, quote, the best way to meet the defense needs of NATO. President Trump has also questioned the very reason for the alliance's existence after Europeans resisted helping the U.S.-Israeli war with Iran, and the Pentagon indicates that they will draw down troops and bases from Europe. And so European officials arrive here knowing that if they want to placate President Trump, and that is an if, they will have to present what Mark Rutte, the Secretary General of NATO today, called clear, concrete, and credible plans to reach that 5% goal. As that senior administration official put it to us, the U.S. is no longer interested in burden shifting. They are talking about burden sharing. And that really indicates how much the historic U.S. and European security ties, Amna, have begun to fray.
And so, Nick, what do you anticipate we'll hear in the summit? Will they acknowledge that sort of momentum and shift?
You know, privately, Amna, European officials do acknowledge this, but publicly they are much more careful, saying what one European official told me today would be a, quote, more European NATO. But there's a different tone here. Amna, last year, European officials arrived here describing an effort, an attempt, a hope to try and keep the U.S. committed to Europe. Now they acknowledge that the Europe is going to reduce its presence in Europe.
Imagine
so
NATO
their goal is just to minimize
without
the damage
America and Turkey.
of the transition. There are more than 70,000
That would be
U.S.
crazy.
troops in Europe. And if the U.S. withdraws quicker than Europe can mobilize, that could create a security vacuum that would make Europe vulnerable. What Europe wants is, frankly, what it doesn't always get: predictability and collaboration. But as always today, Rutte played his Trump whisperer role, and he praised what he called the president's forcefulness.
President Trump has been extremely forceful, encouraging us to do this. And you could argue that he is the first president of the U.S. since Eisenhower who was able to come to this situation where the Europeans and the Canadians will spend the same as the Americans. This equalization was a wish for 50, 60 years, and now it's happening, and I think in large part to his leadership.
The irony here, Amna, is that European defense spending and capabilities are growing at the exact same time that tension within the alliance is growing, mostly because of President Trump's rhetoric.
Nick, meanwhile, we know as you've been covering, one of the topics at the summit beyond NATO will be Ukraine. What do we expect to come from these meetings when it comes to that ongoing war?
I mean, it's certainly a topic that European officials are desperate to present a united front on. But Ukraine is extremely vulnerable right now to Russian attack. As we saw overnight, a Russian barrage of missiles and drones hit Kyiv. All of Russia's ballistic missiles struck their targets. That means that Kyiv has run out of Patriot air defense. The Russian attack killed at least 22 people. President Trump will meet Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky here on the sidelines of NATO. And Zelensky, of course, will emphasize getting more European and U.S. air defense, as the U.S. and Europe are also talking about some joint models, joint production in the defense industrial base.
And briefly, Nick, before we let you go, what are we expecting from President Trump in the way of an announcement tomorrow alongside the Turkish leader, Erdogan?
I hope they both fuck off.
So the two will meet, and Turkey has been asking for two major military parts from the United States: engines for Turkish military jets, and also being back into the American F-35 military jet program. You'll recall, Amna, of course, that Turkey was removed from the program and sanctioned during the first Trump administration after it refused to give up air defense missiles provided by Russia. U.S. officials are hinting, although not confirming, there could be progress to allow Turkey back into the F-35 program. That is something that has split Capitol Hill. It's split experts. Israel has come out against it, but it's something, Amna, that Prime Minister Erdogan has made such a key priority in his personal dealings with President Trump.
All right, that is Nick Schiffrin reporting live from the site of the NATO summit in Ankara, Turkey. Nick, thank you. All right, let's turn our attention now to President Trump's involvement in another international affair. That's the World Cup. The U.S. takes on Belgium tonight with star striker.
I want to hear about Turkey.
Clench fists, and soon we will avenge his death.
We start the day's other headlines in Iran's capital city of Tehran, where hundreds of thousands attended a funeral procession for the country's late supreme leader, the Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. Mourners chanted "Death to America" as Khamenei's casket and those of his family members made their way through the city's streets. The 86-year-old cleric was killed in U.S. and Israeli airstrikes in February. Many supporters vowed revenge, saying that America killed the, quote, father of Iran.
We are here to show our leader's path will continue. All of us will continue down his path with clenched fists, and soon we will avenge his death against the U.S. and Israel.
Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian was seen walking among the crowd and greeting mourners. Khamenei's casket will travel to the Iranian city of Qom and then to Iraq before the late leader is buried in his hometown of Mashhad. The multi-day funeral comes as diplomatic efforts continue to find a permanent end to the war. Hamas says it has dissolved its government in Gaza as it prepares to transfer power to a UN-backed technical committee. A lower-level official made the announcement at a news conference today as part of a U.S.-brokered ceasefire deal with Israel. But the militant group stopped short of saying it would disarm or hand over security to an international force, both of which are requirements in the deal's second phase. Israel dismissed the announcement as an attempt by Hamas to avoid disarming, and it's unclear what impact it will have on the ground, if any. Some Palestinians say they hope it's a step toward peace.
We wish from God that handing over this Hamas administrative committee brings improvement. We wish from God to be relieved from the tents, mosquitoes, mice that are eating us up and our children. This is not life. We are living in torture.
Israel has continued to strike suspected Hamas targets despite the ceasefire that was signed some 9 months ago. Hamas has significantly reduced its major assaults on Israel, but has continued with intermittent strikes as well. Health officials in Gaza say Israeli attacks today killed at least 5 people across the territory. Health officials in the Democratic Republic of the Congo say more than 500 people have now died in the Ebola outbreak. The Ministry of Health says the virus spread continues to outpace the response, with confirmed cases now above 1,500. In the meantime, health workers on the front lines are threatening to go on a 24-hour strike over unpaid benefits and poor working conditions. That could jeopardize clinical trials with experimental treatments, which opened for enrollment just days ago. Cuba was hit by an island-wide blackout today as the nation struggles with an ongoing energy crisis. Cuba's power utility called it a total disconnection from the nation's electrical system and said it's investigating the cause. It's just the latest power failure on the island of some 10 million people after at least 2 similar incidents earlier this year. The nation suffers from aging energy infrastructure, and fuel has been running out since the Trump administration threatened tariffs earlier this year on any countries providing oil to Cuba. Back in the U.S., parts of the mid-Atlantic and Northeast saw drenching downpours today, with some 60 million Americans under flood watches and warnings. It follows a wild weekend of storms that downed trees and damaged homes from the Midwest to the East Coast. As of this afternoon, nearly 500,000 people were without power. And while some areas work to recover from this weekend's flooding, forecasters say areas from western Pennsylvania to New England could see up to 4 inches of rain through tomorrow. In Pennsylvania, officials warned of the flood risk.
The bottom line and the last point is never walk or drive through flooding areas or moving water. The highest loss of life we see in the Commonwealth is usually associated with flash flooding, and it's people trying to drive through moving water and their vehicles getting swept away, and they usually have very tragic outcomes.
Plus,
the storms
it's
come on the heels
poo
of
water.
last week's record-setting heat, which officials say may have contributed to at least 25 deaths in New Jersey alone. And out west, evacuation orders remain in effect for parts of Utah and Colorado due to massive wildfires there. Most are only partly contained. Microsoft said today it's cutting 4,800 jobs, or about 2% of its global workforce. That includes around 1,600 positions from its Xbox gaming division, plus more cuts in the coming months. The unit's CEO says their business today is not healthy due to increased competition and rising hardware costs. Microsoft is just the latest tech giant to announce layoffs as the sector adjusts to the rise of AI, following similar moves in recent months by the likes of Amazon and Meta. President Trump kicked off the trading day on Wall Street by ringing the opening bell from the Oval Office.
So ring the bell, Mr. President.
The symbolic act was meant to highlight the rollout of so-called Trump accounts, which are investment accounts for American kids that are initially funded by the government. By the close, the Dow Jones Industrial Average gained about 150 points on the day. The Nasdaq rose nearly 300 points, or more than 1%. The S&P 500 also ended in positive territory.
The things that always raised.
And businessman and pioneer of black hair care products, George E. Johnson, has died. He founded Johnson Products in 1954 and went on to make a fortune on products like Afro Sheen and Ultra Sheen. His company was said to be the first black-owned firm to be listed on a major American stock exchange. He also founded a bank and was the exclusive sponsor for the legendary TV show Soul Train. His wife says he died today at his home in Chicago from a respiratory illness. George E. Johnson was 99 years old. Still to come on the News Hour, the Trump administration rolls back numerous gun regulations. Our Politics Monday team looks at both the unity and divisions that marked 4th of July celebrations and the rise of a
Oh, hey, guys.
Whoa, hey, how you doing?
Hey, man, what's up? How was your weekend, man?
You have a good weekend? What'd you do? Oh, right. It's crazy, man. What are we doing today? What are we looking at today here? Oh, it's Joe. What the hell's he up to? What the hell's Joe been up to? He's doing some of this?
Adopt baby.
I think Elon's different.
Yeah.
He's definitely different.
Yeah. I think some people are different.
It's fascinating how many people want to find flaws in what he's doing instead of just looking at this like, wow, this is an extraordinary time to be alive.
Yeah.
But it's because of this narrative that people have.
Okay, great. Let's take a look at Joe, man.
Let's take a look at Joe. I'm always watching Joe. I'm always doing one of these right here. Hi. 2.
Daddies are more stronger than mommies.
Joe. I've watched so much Joe, hours and millions of hours of Joe. And this is just like a rule now on the Joe shows. You gotta like once an episode say how cool and brilliant and how lucky we are to have this god among men. He goes by the name Iluma. Like it's literally once an episode. Oh my God. He said this? Oh, what'd he say? He said this. Man, amazing, amazing. And this is Joe and the great Tony Hinchcliffe, Kilthony Hinchcliffe. And this right here is one of those laugh out loud Joe moments, you know, where they're both just like, man, why do people criticize this guy? Why do people not have only positive things to say about Iluma? And it's kind of interesting because, you know, they think Elon Musk is so great. How come they never, like, pull up his Twitter? Because he just does that all day. He's just doing this on Twitter all day. I mean, you could basically read this guy's thoughts all day, every day. Why do they never bring it up if he's such a genius? Why not bring up these insights into the thinking of this genius? And I think it's because if you brought that up, you would see... It is pretty funny. They're just like, oh man, this guy's an absolute genius, man. Let's not look too much. We could look like moment to moment, second. What is that word? Second. How do you, como se dice second? Second to second, we can look at what this guy's up to. No thank you. No thanks. They would, if they would just bring up his, let's call it thought feed. Iluma. It would just derail the whole Joe. They would just be like, okay, all right, hope he's okay. And the thing that this guy... Eloma. The thing he got a bunch of attention this past week for was reposting reposting this like crazy like anti-immigrant movie that like only like the free press and like kind of kooks on Twitter X are really into. This is why this would be a tough one if they started bringing up this guy's actual thoughts. I wouldn't watch this movie, and it is like, it's directed by a notoriously bad director, and it is like unwatchable slop garbage. It's like the only people who want to watch this are kind of crazy people who are so like desperate
just
to
a worse version
see
of
and
falling
hear
down.
anti-immigrant
at least at the end of
stuff.
falling down, the guy is like, I'm the bad guy, and like comes to the realization, you know?
They're willing to sit through this pretty unwatchable thing directed by, you know, one of the most notorious bad directors. But that's the kind of thing you get. The other thing that he posted, it came up for me. I saw somebody commenting on this, is like these AI slop, like weird America nostalgia videos. Just like stuff that only the stupidest people post and repost. That's what you would see if they stopped just saying, oh, this guy's a genius. In the abstract, this guy's absolute genius. And you actually looked at what this guy's doing, you would come away with one of these. That's why Joe never brings this up. Like, oh man, that guy's probably a genius, man. He said this to me and that, and all this and this, that, and the other thing. Oh, let's check out what he's up to. No. We don't need to look at that. We don't need to look at that, man. It's not great. I mean, it really is. It's amazing. It's an amazing Joe trope. You know, every episode, oh my God, Elon Musk is so awesome, man. You know, one of these Joe guests, Tony, Eddie Bravo, Coco, Kurt Metzger, I don't know who. You know, when they get into this section of the show where they talk about how awesome Elon Musk is, somebody should be like, hey, you know, we could check in anytime what he's up to. I just looked at random at the great feed of and literally you could go look right now. He's reposting and saying yes to some kook saying, Zoran Mamdani should be kicked out of the country. They should kick Zoran Mamdani out of the country. Why? Like, that's the feed. But they never check in. Why is that? They never check in. Weird. Then same episode, you go like an hour or 10 hours or 100 hours forward. And Joe does this. This is a classic Joe trope too. Every episode, man, people need to shut the hell up. People need to shut the hell up on social media, man. They're on there too much. It's unhealthy.
I get why you're doing it because that has become a thing that people do today. But I'm just saying, like, for your own mental health, it's not good for you to be engaging.
Yes, it is good.
Like I was saying about the Carlos thing, like just engaging in conflict. It's not good. It's not good for you.
It's unhealthy being on there all day. It's negative, man. Right, yeah. We have a great example of somebody absolutely losing their mind publicly on social media to the point. It's like past the point of unhealthy. It's the guy you say is a genius. Like once or twice or 1,000 times per episode. It's kind of amazing. This is Joe's dude. This is the dude of whom you shall only be mandated upon entering of in ad turnum. Once you pass the threshold into the Joe show, you shall not utter negative utterances about Iluma. And you can go look. Why not bring it up? That's the this is the main question for Joe. Why not bring it up? I just scrolled through. By the way, this guy, Iluma, little weirdly obsessed. Going back to Joe's point of people losing their minds. It's unhealthy. His main dude, Iluma, is like, for sure, like weirdly unhealthily obsessed with Zoran. I just scrolled through again, post after post. Kick him out of the country. Just post after post of that. Then a bunch of like pro-Trump stuff, and it's like, weren't you just a year ago saying that guy was like a PDF? Whatever happened to that? So please, could Joey Coco Diaz, the next time you come on, be like, Hey, Joe,
let's take a look at that feed, Joe.
Let's take a look at the comments. People out here in the comments doing one of these right here. Huh? People hitting these comments like their name.
Hassan Parker.
What does this guy say? The podcast commentators are going to have a field day with this episode. No, they're not. Shut up. No, they're not.
Jesus, man.
I don't even watch JRE episodes anymore. I just come for the comments. And y'all never fail. Crying, laughing. You're laughing at that so much that you're crying? Shut up, man. Give those guys a break, man. Didn't know a coping session could last this long. That's illegal, man. That's illegal to say that. You get one of these.
Boom, boom, boom.
You get one of these right here. Tony, this is true. Joe does not let Tony talk a lot. Tony can absolutely not get a word in on this episode. Tony made a few I don't like the attitude already. Tony made a few powerful statements this episode. He said, yeah, then right, and truly riveting. Come on, man.
You can't bring that kind of attitude to a YouTube comment section.
You show it some respect, or get one of these. More food for the elephant graveyard. We love to see it. These terrible, wretched, putrid, should not be allowed to exist channels that make fun of Joe are getting more views than Joe.
Daddies are more stronger than mommies.
In other words.
What was he talking about? Like, there was a lot of it, like, funding rap music.
I don't know about that.
Like, this is crazy.
That's Jamie's business.
This is, like, one of the most tinfoil hat conspiracies. But people are pointing out that right now is, like, one of the rare times where no rap music is on the charts.
Yeah.
And they're saying, well, how does this coincide with USAID? Was USAID like actively promoting rap music? Was that one of the reasons why rap music was so popular?
I don't know.
Is that real? That can't be real.
Perplexity. This is a
Maybe
perplexity.
back in the day.
This is a case for perplexity. Put it in perplexity like this right here.
Boom, 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 boom.
This is me entering something in perplexity right here. Yeah, here's Joe right here. And a lot of this stuff, it's just like, I don't know, who's listening to this? What would anybody get out of the Joe show? A lot of the Joe show is just going like this. It's no offense. It's honestly kind of boring. No offense.
No offense. No offense.
But this is a thing that I heard Tim Pool talking about too.
Hot 100's top 40 does not boast a single rap song, ending a streak that's lasted for over 35 years. Huh, how weird.
How weird.
Another one of my favorite YouTubers, Tim Pool, I heard him like basically saying this exact thing. Like, rap music is not, there's some story that it's not at the top of like some stuff, like the Billboard Hot 100 or something. And they think this has to do something with, you know, government funding or some government operation or something. The funny thing about this is, like, it's not a complete, like, what's the theory here? Like, Joe goes kind of into a thing about how he thinks mumble rap was made to make people
Okay. Globally, hip-hop and pop are the undisputed kings of streaming. Hip-hop, including R&B and subgenres like trap, commands 25 to 30% of all streams. These people are stupid. They're big stupid. That is supremely stupid, one might say. A Google search could have prevented this video. That's fun. But sure, let's, you know, Billboard Top 100. That's all that matters. Doesn't matter about the vast fucking majority of streams being hip-hop. But, whatever. That might be one of the dumbest things I've ever seen Joe Rogan or the right wing say. USAID funding hip-hop? Are you fucking dumb?
I mean, yeah, he is dumb.
But, like, even... Because, like, obviously they're getting their narratives from, like, group chats and shit. Nobody questioned this? Nobody Googled this? Nobody looked this up? There's literal records for streaming. You can look up the raw data yourself. You don't have to use any aggregated website that tells you the data. You can literally go and look at it. And look for yourself that I guarantee in every single country, hip-hop, urban music that appeals to the younger, city-living people is among the most popular, if not the most popular. Where does it come from? Struggle? In the city? As someone in the lower class? Oh my god, well, hip-hop, well, it can't be that popular, it has to be USAID. I'm too stupid to comprehend what rap actually is, where it comes from, and why it's so popular, because all I listen to is country songs talking about trucks and big tits. Hell yeah, brother! Music!
Stupid or something, but they're like, oh, rap music is not at the top of some charts or something anymore, and they think this has to do, I guess this has something to do with what Elon Musk did, like the USAID defunding thing. They're like, oh, this has something to do with the rap music not being as high on the charts anymore. It's like, okay, what's the theory here even? This is weird too, because then they like immediately go into talking about how amazing Kanye West is and how good his current tour is. You know, it's like, okay, is that part of whatever theory you're talking about? Who knows? Who knows? It's a little
adult baby.
Also, if you go look at these like Billboard, what is it?
Billboard.
Toilets. If you go look at these charts, it's all like Olivia Rodrigo and Drake and Ariana Grande. I don't know what. This is a pretty half-baked theory. I mean, there are some interesting theories about like artists and musicians getting really big. You know, for decades there's been these theories of they get really big and then they start saying things maybe that are, a little critical of powerful people or whatever, and then, some things happen
Like
or
Michael
some
Jackson.
things change, not to go too much into that. But that's
Michael
been a theory
Jackson's
for a long time.
owned
And the
a
weird
lot
thing is
of
Joe's talking about, like, oh,
music
they were
licenses.
influencing the public. And it's like, what about
They killed
your
him for
show,
them.
though, Joe? Like, this is your entire
He was speaking
audience.
out
Like, every
against
episode
them.
is like, oh,
He was
Joe's
calling out
captured.
the Epstein class
Oh,
before
Joe
it
can't
happened.
say this, Joe can't say that. And like
They
we just
slandered
looked at
him
it,
as a
it's all,
pedophile,
Elon
then they
Musk is
killed
the
him.
greatest. Don't look at what he's saying. It's like, why are we coming up with
Michael
these
Jackson was
sort of
supposed to
pretty,
change everything.
1/16th, 1/8 at best baked theories when it's like, yeah, your audience is kind of concerned about your show, Joe.
They secured
Yeah,
this
I'm saying
fascist
there's
victory
a giant
when
chunk
they
of them
killed
that
Michael
are
Jackson.
Inaudible. You don't know what the
timeline diverted when Michael
Close.
Jackson died.
Almost all of them are inaudible.
Like what's going on there? Imagine if that was it. It was like people heard Nas and like, this guy's too smart. We got to dumb it down a little.
Right.
We got to promote some people that could barely talk.
Yeah.
We got to promote
Nas
some
is
people
like
that are on
60
cough
years
syrup,
old now.
apparently.
Yeah.
Right.
That's have you ever done that cough syrup?
No.
None of your business, Joe. Leave Tony out of this. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's Joe and my man Tone. They're just kind of spitballing this theory here. I don't really know exactly what the theory is. And again, Tim Pool has been saying this, and go listen to that. Doesn't really add up to much. I don't know, what is it? The government created mumble rap to, I don't know, make people listen to music that doesn't have a very strong message or something. A political message, such as, or a sharp wit or understanding like Nas, so it fell off the charts. If you go look at these charts now, again, it's all Olivia Rodrigo and Drake and Ariana Grande. Not exactly the most,
fucking hate this.
cutting political messages. It's not like, oh, now it's
Okay.
And what's that other group?
So I just looked this up.
Infinity Knives.
I looked up
On the
most
top of the
streamed
charts.
rappers.
It's just more pop music. So how does this theory
Drake
hold
is the
together?
most
I
streamed
don't think it
rapper of
does.
all time. Drake is not a
And
rapper.
again, very funny coming from the Joe Show, where you can't really say anything except that is awesome. Okay, this is a funny little saying. This is an awkward little segment.
Eminem,
Check
Travis
out
Scott, and
Tone's
Kanye
reaction
West.
to this.
I would
When he
argue
showed up-
Kanye West
He showed up at the UFC
barely
even though he's
qualifies
banned.
as well.
He showed up and they arrested him.
Yeah.
They kicked him out. He's the world champion.
Kendrick
There's a UFC
Future.
event at
Interesting.
the White House. At the
Right.
time, before Justin won, he was the only American world champion.
Oh,
And they're like,
right.
you can't come
Yeah.
because you talk too much shit about Israel.
Tony has no idea what to say right now. Joe's just like, they banned this guy from the White House thing that I went to, by the way.
Hey, holy shit!
I mean, it's
Bad
crazy.
Bunny
Just after doing
beat
like
out
a,
Drake and
psyop
Taylor Swift for
censorship
3 years
segment.
running.
It's like, they
And
won't let this
BTS.
guy in because he did not,
Crazy.
walking in lockstep with all this crap. Man, it's so funny.
Hey, he was the most streamed last year as well.
Yeah.
Like you would think you would want to celebrate the American male world champion.
No.
I think he said some other stuff too, though.
Yeah.
There's some Epstein stuff there.
Yeah.
So he's a
I'm
wild
scanning
boy.
my face
Yeah, a
to
lot of
set up the
covering up
OnlyFans.
stuff.
I told him when he retires from fighting, 100% should do a podcast. And he's like, I want
Move on.
I've seen these
Move
guys
on.
doing.
How many views on this? 1 mil. 1 mil in 3 days. It is
How
a very
does
odd twist
Pitbull
in the Joe
have
content.
90
especially
million
given past
fucking monthly
Joes,
listeners?
early
How?
Joe, where now there's just
What
like
the fuck
every
is wrong
episode
with you
there's this
people?
Weird tension on the Joe Show where it's like, oh man, maybe that rap.
That's a
music was
genuine
created
question.
as a
What the fuck is
conspiracy
wrong with you people?
to
It makes
influence
sense to me.
the
Like
minds
he's
of
always
people.
been a,
Also, they won't let the world champion
you know,
in on this UFC
it's like
because he says things
like
they
Tool.
don't like. He
That's
called out a
fucking
cover-up.
nuts.
You know what I
He's like
mean?
one of the biggest names in this UFC.
Like you
thing.
can clown on,
Anyway, I was there.
or Coldplay
Anyway.
even. You can clown
Anyway,
on
when did you ever
Coldplay,
drink cough
but
syrup?
how many listeners
No, I
they get
haven't.
in a month?
You want to? It's just
Monthly?
every episode.
Are they
is
even
this,
on the
like,
list?
Weird contradiction. It's
Not on the
tense.
list.
The
Yeah.
comics that are doing it, almost all of them don't have good careers.
Hey.
No, all of them.
Right.
None of them have.
Oh.
Like Bruno
impressive
Mars
careers.
is the
Give us a
most.
compared
break.
to their contemporaries that are doing well.
133
And then on top of
million.
it, they're all
That's a
mentally
lot.
ill. Therapy, they're
Makes
literally
sense.
mentally ill, and they're online.
Jeez.
They're talking about fascists.
Right.
You know, like stop. Like get your shit together. No one.
Give him a break.
Like the
Joe,
way you
please.
view the world is
Weird.
it's not a healthy, balanced perspective.
Right.
Like you're viewing the world in this like mentally ill lens.
Michael Jackson still has
the whole
110
online thing
million per month.
doesn't even convert to sold.
Rihanna is
tickets or a
110
bigger
as
thing.
well.
It's such a
Taylor Swift
temporary
102
drug for them to get
Bad
to fill
Bunny
this void
99
of what they're not doing.
Right. It doesn't convert.
Coldplay,
to
93 million listeners.
No.
Per
I mean,
month.
some people maybe they
that
get
more
like a
than
little juice
Pitbull?
out of it, but
Just
it's
more,
not
4
enough
million
because
more.
you're also opening the
Told you.
door. If you do become popular, you have to understand that if you've been spitting hate at people for a decade and then you become popular, boy, that hate's coming your way.
Oh yeah.
It's coming your way.
Tony,
Dua Lipa goes hard. Black Eyed Peas
Joe's not talking
is number
enough.
27.
Let Joe
What the fuck?
Whoa, Joe. Joe, back away from the mic for a second, please. Please back up into
Get
that
retarded.
giant neon thing for a
Get
second, please. That's you burning yourself on that neon thing.
Did they
now
remove
Joe was
all
talking
trace
so
of
much.
that song?
Oh, God damn it. Tony was
I don't know.
interrupting so much that I completely
Daddy
forgot what I was gonna
Yankee?
say. Oh, yeah.
What?
I think I was going to say those people need to shut up. The people that Joe is talking about, they need to
That is
shut
awesome.
the hell up. And they get one of these and one of these.
Tame
So,
Impala
I guess this
is
section
number
right here is about
34.
Mark.
That's so
We're doing a Mark
surprising.
Maron section right here. Man, Joe is absolutely rattled. Joe cannot
Linkin
let go
Park
of this
is in the
Mark
top
Maron
50.
stuff. Because this is another thing that happened this week.
Represent.
Mark Maron, people
We
have been
love
sharing
this.
this. He's like, yeah, those guys suck. Which is
Most
great.
followed
This
artist.
was-
Who do you think it
I
is?
thought this was the whole Joe thing. Man, let's
Kanye.
work out our differences. And Joe's like, those people
T.
suck.
Swift.
I don't like that stuff. that
Second.
they're doing. And Joe can just not let go of this. There was a segment that sounded like
Taylor
he-
Swift is second.
He was like, I gave Mark a talking to, and he's gonna stop with his crap. But this is
It's
like
like
everything with the
YouTube.
Joe show. Like it
It's
doesn't
an
add
Indian
up.
bloke.
Like it just doesn't make sense. Because if he just came out and he said that guy's mean to me,
Arijit
I hate
Singh?
him, you go to hell.
Tongue,
For all I care, jerk.
The
And we'd be like, all right. This is just some
182.9
stupid little
million
feud that you
followers.
guys have or
Taylor
whatever.
Swift has
he
40
could
million
just sell
less.
this as some kind of little inter-comedy feud. And Mark Maron is, if you go watch what he's saying, he's like, he's not saying
BTS?
anything crazy. He's
Oh.
right on all this. He's like,
So
yeah, these
don't
people are doing
don't tell the
political
BTS
stuff,
fans that they're
and I don't
number
like it.
11.
Sucks.
They'll go for number one.
Kind of obvious stuff, but then Joe goes into this whole thing about like, this guy's mentally ill. These guys are mentally ill. They're whoever guy, unnamed guy. Or guys, they're spewing hate. They're spewing hate, and that's sick, man. That's gonna come back to haunt you. This is a thing about me analyzing your psychology, man. And I don't use this drop lightly,
Swear to God,
but you're doing this.
That makes me
And honestly,
upload
it
my
pains me
face
to say
again.
this, but you're doing a little bit of this.
To what?
So he
The
goes
thing
into
is-
this whole like
To
psychological.
OnlyFans. The thing is that I
you're
haven't updated my
analyzing
ID photo since I
unnamed
first got it.
guys. Yeah, these guys are sick.
That might make
They're
it
filled
difficult.
with hate, and that's just bad
But,
for
like,
them. It'll destroy
come on.
you. And
Let
it's
me
like,
just sell
let's go
butthole
back
pics.
to the beginning of this episode. Who's the hero of the show? What does that guy do all day? Which we cannot look at and do not look at. It's like the worst kind of hate all day, nonstop. Remember, that's a good guy. See, doesn't really. This is the Joe show. It just completely compromised, man. Oh, but the rap music is that's an operation, man, on our brains, on the public. But hey, somebody says something that's I don't like against all this crap that I'm putting out there. That's bad too.
And I eventually got to a place with that joke where I'm like, how could Theo get mad at me for this?
Right.
It's
Well, I mean, obviously he could get mad because of the fact that
This is a human man. This is a human man.
but they're sensitive. Those
Did they
fellas.
get mad at you?
Hey,
Really? Oh,
give them a break,
Joe
Mark.
said he got mad at me. I don't know.
Yeah,
oh
yeah,
my
you got
God.
mad
I think
things
they get hurt.
They're
kinda-
very delicate flowers.
They are a little
Oh,
bit.
give them a break.
Oh, it's
This
what's
whole
her name?
idea that it's based in jealousy or it's player hating or all that, it's like, shut the up. If someone is a large part of culture and you are a satirist of any kind, it's fair game.
Yeah, it is crazy. Joe's going on and on. Can we see this?
Not in Mark's face. Come on.
You know, the Joe show, he's doing a lot of about how people are like crazy. Oh, this person's crazy. They're mentally ill, all this stuff. But Joe's show is crazy. Like, probably most of the people watching it are like, this is weird. Even fans, if you look at the comments, that's weird. Whatever the hell's going on with the Joe show, this is weird. You know, because it does seem a bit captured. And then somebody, like, a respected comedian points that out, and they're like, that guy's sick. Not the guy posting hate content, the quote-unquote trillionaire posting hate content. That guy's awesome. But a guy who's calling out that we seem a bit captured, which our basically entire audience thinks, that guy's sick. You know, this is the Joe Show. It's bizarre. But this is kind of funny because this is such a one-sided win here. You know, Mark Maron is saying pretty obvious stuff here. Basically the same stuff that Joe's audience is saying. What the hell? Why aren't you allowed to talk about anything, Joe? And why do you keep having the same kind of people on over and over and over? And it is true, as a Joe viewer myself, huge Joe fan, a Joe head. As a Joe head myself, he is right that Joe is just like, oh man, these people who I clearly respect because they're like, you know, real comedians who are giving me a hard time, like calling out obvious stuff, they're A, jealous, and B, mentally ill. And Mark Maron here is just like, well, Joe, I'm kind of saying obvious stuff here. You're doing this, and I'm just doing this.
Huh?
The other thing, they're talking about Theo Von here. And I wanted to play some clips, because he had that guy John Kennedy on, but some of these guys, not naming any names, but some of these guys, a guy told me, who I believe is probably wrong, but some of these channels, they're not a fan of people doing fair use clips and making fun of it, which is totally, you know, the spirit of this whole thing. So maybe some of these clips we might not play for now. But people have been talking about this thing with Theo Von where he had this guy John Kennedy on, and there's clips going around where Theo Von is like, I don't know, man. That crap doesn't make sense what you're saying. Because this guy John Kennedy, you know who he is, he's a senator who
Mitch
do like
McConnell
this.
died yet?
Crime.
He do like this.
Call a crackhead. Call a crackhead.
Okay, I will. What do I say to them when I call?
Violent crime.
Okay. All right, you win, Senator. I'll do it. Oh, come on. Come on, Senator. It's unnecessary, man. But people have been commenting on this clip of that senator. This one.
Call a crackhead.
He goes on Theo Von. They talk for 2 hours. And I wouldn't watch this whole thing. Unlistenable. Crap. I mean, the guy is like a scammer, but he's also very boring. Also, some of these channels, not naming any channels, doing a lot of very questionable ads for such things as like weird crypto websites and gambling crap. Gotta sit through a lot of that in some of these unnamed channels. But man, oh man, it is so boring. I mean, the guy is a chatbot. This guy.
Call a crackhead.
He thinks he's some kind of a comedian or something. You know, the senator who represents Louisiana, allegedly, who's taking a bunch of very questionable money, doing this, so he can keep doing this. And Theo Von kind of like pushes back on him a little bit, but the majority of the 2 hours is just this boring chatbot, like pretending he's some down-home Southern boy.
I'm just a down-home
Southern senator of the United States who supports a lot of this.
I'm just a down-home Southern boy.
Who goes on Fox News all the time, and I do this, I do a lot of that.
And I do a lot of this.
So this, people call him this, a booger. That's not nice. Goes on Theo Von to promote a book. What is the dumb book called? I believe the book is called How to
Call a Crackhead.
And various incidents of
violent crime
I've done in my life. Oh no, sorry, I got that wrong. It's called How to Test Negative for Stupid. Whoa, whoa.
Very funny.
Very funny stuff there, man. How to test negative for
violent crime.
I like this review here because it seems like it's from an actual fan. First off, I love the guy. And I love watching him grill people in the Senate hearings. He's terrific. However, don't buy the book. It's a waste of time. I thought it was going to be centered around the stupidity that occurs in Congress. Instead, it's an autobiography, walking you through his life from early childhood. All phases of his education, all his jobs, people he met. I met this guy one time and I had to
call a crackhead.
His love for the state of Louisiana and Cajuns there, etc., etc., etc. Now, I do admit I did AI generate this piece of crap because I was too busy doing
violent crime.
By then, I was 80% through the book. I love some of his phrases, but some appear multiple times in the book, such as,
call a crackhead.
Better to save your money. Very disappointing, as I was expecting better from a brilliant mind. Definitely, man. One of the most brilliant minds of our time right there, man.
Call a crackhead.
But yeah, so anyway, this goofball is promoting this dumb, what appears to be AI-generated piece of crap book on Theo Von. And if you go watch this, there's some amazing parts because this guy wants to sell himself as some kind of a comedian.
Call a crackhead.
And Theo Von does say some funny stuff. He tries to, in between this guy just droning on and repeating dumb talking points, like a little chatbot. Beep, 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 beep. Like Theo Von tries to do some bits that are like moderately funny, and this guy just, oh, come on, Theo, we gotta get back to me just beep, 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 beep. Repeating talking points. Like it is unlistenable crap, man. But besides from that, this thing just being totally unlistenable, not even entertaining as a podcast, just this like total deadbeat senator, bip, 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 just barfing up talking points. There is a part where Theo's like, so man, how about these like people in New York who are getting elected, like Zoran or whatever? And his reply to this is basically like, oh, they won't take away your freedom. Like stuff like that. That's what you get from this interview. But then there's a long segment that people have been kind of sharing and commenting on where Theo Von does kind of, press his little butt, does kind of press his little senatorial down home, I'm just a simple countryman. He does press his little butt on some of these, blank-faced talking points, because the guy is just super pro-war, super pro-Israel, all this stuff, and Theo Von's like, I don't know, man. I don't know all about all that, and he's like, Theo Von is really pushing back. He's bringing up reports and stuff. And honestly, you're listening to this and it's like, why even have this guy on? Like, what is the point? Because
there's not a
maybe
separate
like
app
half
for
of the interview is
OnlyFans.
just, I'm a down home. I'm just a silly boy.
Just a silly boy. The next time you get in trouble, call a crackhead. Call a crackhead.
I'm just a down home crawdaddy. Like half of it is that. And the actual
Crackhead's
part
less
that's
likely to shoot
relevant
you
where
or your
Theo Von
dog.
is like pushing back on all this guy's, totally,
disgusting
crap is just him firing back.
Did you
the
interrupting
most
Goose herd yet?
dead-eyed, meaningless
No, I
talking
haven't.
points. So you gotta ask Theo, like, what is the point of this? What is the point of having a guy like this on? Not interesting.
Okay, I want to see what this is real quick.
On the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence, it's worth asking, what was the American Revolution actually about? Sure.
It was about representation in the British government. And then when that didn't happen, they went for full independence. Next.
Sure, we all remember the broad strokes we learned in school. Independence from the British Crown, taxes on tea, life, liberty, and the
I
pursuit
can't
of
argue
happiness.
against that.
But on a deeper level, the American Revolution was and is a revolution in political theory. That is, reimagines what a legitimate government is and its relationship to you, its citizens. Washington's troops won the ground war 245 years ago in Yorktown. But we must continue to fight an ideological battle against the left and the right in their ruthless assault on America's core values.
I don't think it's really a sustainable political equilibrium to have two parties that are both economically leftist. It is really important to recognize that what the post-liberal right is pushing in terms of economics is progressivism. It's not conservatism.
Where does this lead? I don't know. But one thing is clear. The American Revolution isn't over. Inscribed inside the dome of the Jefferson Memorial are the words, I have sworn upon the altar of God eternal hostility against every form of tyranny over the mind of man. Thomas Jefferson wrote that.
It's funny that a guy would be like, hey, tyranny's bad, and well, he owns slaves.
Mm-hmm. In an 1800 letter. But that feeling of hostility towards the tyranny of a distant monarch is what drove
Yeah, you didn't
him
hear them just say that Trump is communist?
and his fellow revolutionaries in 1776. Supreme Court Justice Neil Gorsuch summarized it to reason this way.
The Declaration of Independence had three great ideas in it. That all of us are equal, that each of us has inalienable rights given to us by God, not government, and that we have the right to rule ourselves.
That's why Jefferson declared that a legitimate government requires the consent of the governed. Thomas Paine put it more scathingly in his 1776 pamphlet, Common Sense, writing, "Government by kings was first introduced into the world by heathens. Monarchy was the devil's most effective and enduring."
From whom the children of Israel copied the custom. I love how they scrolled over that part.
The children of Israel. Clearly talking about the state and not Jacob.
I think he's talking about Jews.
Form of idolatry. We don't fret over tyrannical kings in today's America. Only ceremonial vestiges of hereditary monarchy remain in the modern world. The revolution achieved a complete victory in that sense. Yet, a counter-revolution is underway, one that views the American Revolution and the republic it birthed as a failed liberal regime that's outlived its usefulness. And these counter-revolutionaries sit remarkably close to the levers of power.
What's so difficult about this moment for conservatives is that we love the country so much that we don't want to admit to ourselves how far gone things are.
3 years before he became vice president, J.D. Vance told podcaster Jack Murphy that America had reached a point of no return.
We are in a late Republican period. If we're going to push back against it, we have to get pretty wild and pretty far out there and go in directions that a lot of conservatives right now are uncomfortable with.
Vance regularly cites and associates with a group of so-called post-liberals. He appeared on a panel with one of the movement's leading intellectuals, Patrick Deneen, a Notre Dame political science professor and the author of Regime Change, Toward a Post-Liberal Future in 2023.
All political orders are divided in one fundamental way, between the few and the many.
Deneen believes there's an unbridgeable divide between the elite and ordinary, or the many and the few. What's needed, in short, is regime change, the peaceful but vigorous overthrow of a corrupt and corrupting liberal ruling class, which will be replaced by a more virtuous one.
The replacement of the current elites in our society ought to be more closely aligned to the interests of ordinary people.
Deneen envisions the kind of aristocratic government favored by the ancients like Plato and Aristotle, endorsing aristopopulism, where an elite class works to further the interests of the masses.
Fuck
he invokes
yourself.
a pre-modern conception of liberty expressed in the pages of Plato, Aristotle, the Bible, where institutions like the family, the church, and the state all work together to impose guardrails to protect individuals from becoming slaves to their own desires.
He says people like me should just be in charge of our government. That's what he means by regime change. We should replace the current elites, who he says are, all liberals,
Show your tits!
With post-liberals.
My colleague Stephanie Slade writes about the post-liberal right for Reason magazine.
They might say, yeah, America did have a liberal founding, and that's why it was a mistake. Actually, this whole experiment was a mistake, and it maybe took a couple hundred years for that mistake to play out and for us to realize how bad it was. But we now can see that it doesn't lead to good outcomes, good conservative outcomes.
In his book, Common Good Constitutionalism, Adrian Vermeule, a post-liberal Harvard law professor and Trump appointee, wrote that the central aim of the constitutional order is to promote good rule, not to protect liberty as an end in itself. That's a rejection of the spirit of 1776. Paine saw the existence of government as a necessary evil because of the inability of moral virtue to govern the world. A minimal state, in his view, should be restricted to supplying freedom and security.
So if you think again of the Declaration as kind of our mission statement or ideals, and the Constitution is the how-to manual, right? Well, the Constitution is all about dividing power, isn't it? Right? That Madison realized men are not angels, and that their aspirations for power need to be checked and checked.
I mean, other than them saying Trump's communist, it